Good evening, and thank you for tuning into the summer session of the Wines of Nova Scotia and Wine Growers Association Nova Scotia's discussion on 100% local rosé. So thank you for tuning in. My name is Dave Pieroway, and I am a sommelier here in Nova Scotia. I'm a CAPS AC board member, newly minted, so don't ask me too many questions on that behalf yet. After September, I will. And my day job is I'm a key account manager with the NSLC, servicing our premier accounts all throughout Nova Scotia, which we use a lot of beautiful Nova Scotian wines. But first and foremost, I think I'm a wine lover. And well, rosé, you had me sold. I think every day of the year, if there's a bottle of wine that comes home, it's most likely a bottle of rosé. So I'm very excited to be here. Brief introduction on me. So I think we should incorporate some of the esteemed, beautiful, and charming guests that we have with us this evening and work around the room. How about Gina? Would you like to introduce yourself? Get some questions in the mix. I want to add one little tidbit for all of you on the introduction and just sort of mention to myself and everyone viewing your first wine passion that led you to where you are today. And I guess that would be here talking about Nova Scotian Rosé.
Thanks, Dave. That's wonderful. And as we said earlier, it's perfect weather for enjoying rosé, especially Nova Scotian rosé, with that bright acidity and beautiful aromatic profile. So I'm Gina Haverstock. I'm the head winemaker for Devonian Coast Wineries. So that includes Gaspereau, Yost, and Mercator Vineyards, and I'm obviously representing Mercator Vineyards tonight. I started my career in Nova Scotia in 2006 as winemaker at Gaspereau Vineyards. In 2013, Mercator became a part of the of that family, and so yeah, I guess in 2018 I started as head winemaker. So that's kind of why I'm here speaking on Mercator. I'm originally from Nova Scotia. I'm from Port Hawkesbury and Cape Breton, and went away and did some training at Brock University before going and doing some training in Germany, Austria, and France, a little bit New Zealand, and definitely was looking to come back to Nova Scotia. So I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome.
Oh, what did you tell me? I had to tell you.
You know, the typical icebreaker, your first wine passion that led to everything to where you are today.
I took my first job in a winery and I knew nothing about wine, absolutely nothing about wine. We drank baby duck and cold duck at Christmas at and Thanksgiving at my house. I took a summer job at Yost Vineyards. And so it was my first dip into wine, understanding how wine was made. And I think one that really stuck out for me was a New York Muscat called Eagle Tree Muscat that was made at Yost Vineyards. So unique, so aromatic. So yeah, that I guess there's my story.
That's amazing, from the tasting bar all the way up to, you know, head winemaker. Good for you. Amber, how about you introduce yourself to everybody tuning in?
I always laugh at me being included on any of these things, only because I'm like, I'm a drinker of all of us, because I got into this via my husband, and it was his dream. I mean, don't get me wrong, living in a vineyard winery, because as anybody that knows us, the vines are right up to the door. I actually am not so much, and didn't start out in this industry since we opened in 2021. I have become more involved in it, only because some of you know, John had cancer, lost his taste and smell. It's, you know, periodic. So I did a lot of the tasting, and, you know, it's a lot of my palate that's in a lot of our wines. We're typically about the drinkability about it. So yeah, that's basically my involvement, my introduction into that. We run a family farm. It's basically, we're doing all of it. I do all the social media, all the reporting to government and the NSLC, because I could be a bootlegger if I didn't behave and, you know, make sure that everyone knows my business. So yeah, so that's where I'm involved. I can tell you that the start of my wine journey, and anybody that knows, if you've ever been to one of our tours, my nickname is Boozer McCluskey. That is not my last name. However, that is my nickname. I started with Apothic Red. And I started with Apothic Red because I went into the NSLC and I needed a bottle of wine because I was dating some farmer. And I thought, okay, I'm going to buy a great bottle of wine. And that's what I came home with. It had the letter A on it. My name is Amber. It looked pretty on the bottle. I thought, let's go. So since then, it has progressed. That's basically my wine story. John's is a little more upper class than mine. Again, I'm here for the drinking component of all of this. You know, the layman's terms of all of it. Do you want to tell them about your passion and how you got into this?
Well, we can. It's 20 years old already since we first made wine. We made it in Shibenacadie. We made a Tidal Bay. We made a whole bunch of barrels of Great Red, left it alone. And everyone asked me how to get into the wine business. You're milking a lot of cows, and there wasn't maybe not enough work, and we got bored. And we took the NSLC's grape brewing course, and then it progressed very quickly that there's no sense of being in the grape business if you're not going to value add agriculture in the province of Nova Scotia. Then we partnered with a great winemaker, and we both put a bunch of great taste buds and a great bunch of noses together. Planted a few different aromatics, small little blocks of Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier at the old winery. Then we put some Minnesota bred hybrids that were very, very aromatic to blend with our whites and add a little bit of a taste of Nova Scotia to our grapes. And after a 10-year hiatus, moved to Kings County. Knew I had to stay in this business, and we were in a hurry to do it. We had to yank out an old orchard of apple trees, planted great varieties, not so much to sell, but to make great wine with. A lot of vinifera, 50% vinifera here. We suffered a little bit, the Riesling, the Pinot Gris, the Chardonnays, and then a whole bunch of great hybrids to blend, including the German Geisenheim, which is a great benchmark for us. And as far as my first drinking, it was in the north of France in Amiens, and it came out of a barrel and brought in a clay jar, and I said, "Wow, that's amazing."
That would be.
And I've always remembered that great best glass of red wine ever.
And see, isn't that a better story than mine? I mean, you know, Apothic Red out of a barrel. That's the best thing about wine.
Yeah,
So
out of a box. It was out of a box.
It wasn't out of a box, a bottle.
You know,
I like your story, Amber.
Thank you, Aaron.
and you know, for myself, I was just wanting a part-time job living in Niagara. I wanted to just work on a tasting bar and learn more, and you know, it's changed my life. So, you know, I think it's beautiful how wine affects us all in many different ways, aside from enjoying it, Amber. So Erin, nice to meet you. Glad you.
Yeah, you too.
So I'm going to roll that question on to you to introduce yourself, introduce Nova Scotians, a little bit of your background, and what got you into the whole wine game.
Sure. I'm obviously a bit newer into the whole game, but I'm learning a lot as we go. I grew up around wine. I mean, I have my parents to thank for that. When I was in high school, we go to Piedmont, Italy and Southern France, and we'd go on wine tours, and I didn't really understand what was going on, but that was definitely my exposure to it. And then I was working as an engineer for a couple of years and just absolutely hated it and ended up quitting and traveling the world. And then when I came back, I got a job for Grape Escapes, if you guys are familiar with it. And that was my first exposure to Nova Scotia wine. And I kind of realized how amazing it was and how wineries are great. And I was super interested in the winemaking side of it versus the kind of the sales side of it. And then I wanted to keep traveling. So I found a job in South Australia on at a winery. I worked a harvest there, stayed for most of the year, and then started working at wine bars around Melbourne, which is really what drove my passion, because I got to try these like amazing wines that I didn't even know, like I would have never had the chance to try if you weren't working at these kind of wine bars. 2 years and doing the wine tours, I'd always loved Benjamin Bridge. And I said, if the only reason I would move home is if I got a job at Benjamin Bridge. And I just like curiously was looking up wine jobs. And of course there's one for Benjamin Bridge. So it was kind of a sign. And I moved home for that job in 2019. And this will be my fourth harvest working for them. So I've just kind of like climbed the wine ladder, I should say, and learning a lot every minute of the day and have great people teaching me. So just happy to be here.
Good for you. Wow. Wonderful story. I'm highly jealous of your childhood, and
Yeah.
it's nice that you're, in the industry here in Nova Scotia, reminiscing over your childhood, shall I say. Good for you. Great story. So, we are talking rosé, gang. I think we all love wine enough and can appreciate rosé. So a quick, easy one. I just wanted to ask everyone, before we get to the nuts and bolts and the dirt here locally, what would be your favorite international style of rosé? Perhaps, something that is an impressionable style, it's reflected in your winemaking, something that, you really enjoy.
I think Provence is kind of like the classic answer of one of the best, drinking a Tempier, like Provence is like the best thing you can drink. I always remember the first time having that. But one of the rosés that rocked my world and absolutely, blew my mind was the Suscaru from Sicily. That rosé, well, I'll always remember. And I would, it's way different climate than here, but it's just like, it's always something that I keep in the back of my mind. It's probably one of my favorite wines ever. Happens to be rosé.
Little spicy on the back end, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's kind of gritty and yeah.
How about Amber? You two, what kind of rosés do you really like out there, and perhaps creates an impression on your style?
Earliest, Languedoc, south of France. End of the story. Because there was a few years of those Peller specialists like the Broken Duck and those ones, and then I hit that one in France. What did I say?
I still like the
she likes the baby duck.
There's nothing wrong with the baby duck. The baby duck is good.
No, and as soon as I hit the south of France, that was till we got to this journey, it was always something to look up to and to try to emulate. End of story. It was very, very special.
Excellent. And you, Amber?
There is something to be said about the way that the French can make a rosé. I mean, honestly, any wine, but the rosé. We were lucky enough to be in France, and he's not lying. There were some really great wines there. So I'll stick with. I side with my husband on this, which, as anyone would know, I don't very often, but I do with this. I do with this.
Excellent. And how about you, Gina?
I do love Provence style rosé, definitely. But I think one that really made a mark on me was when I worked in Germany, and I worked in the Rheingau, so very Riesling dominant. And they also had some Spätburgunder, some Pinot Noir there, and they made a rosé out of 100% Pinot Noir called, Play, they called it in French, actually. I really love the backbone of the acidity, the delicate flavors, and that just made an impression on me. So that I love that style. It's maybe not common, and you probably don't see that many German Rieslings, German rosés, pardon me. But that's the one that made an impression for me.
Excellent. Yeah, for me, I'm a French wine lover, and French rosés definitely do it for me. But I think that resonates with Canadian wines, and especially Nova Scotian wines, that we do take a bit of the old world we're the new world, and we create something very unique and special in Canada with our wines. Blind tasting, you can almost sense, is this old world? Is this new world? Well, that sort of starts to lead you to one of the key factors to the gems of Canadian wines is they're kind of based off of those traditions. So I love those answers. So stepping it up a little bit, locally, think local. What do we like to pair with our local rosés locally? I think a lot of our viewers out there would like a little hints out there on some cheeses or, just situations to enjoy our beautiful local wines. Erin, what are your thoughts?
I have a great answer for this because I just did it a couple weeks ago. I was camping at the LaHave Islands, just out on the beach, and I had a bottle of our new wine, the Glooscap First Nations Rosé, and we caught some mackerel out in the water. And I can't like separate Nova Scotia wine and seafood ever. Like, it's a classic. They need to go together. So I can never answer this question without putting some kind of seafood with it. But we caught fresh mackerel, cooked it on the fire, and I had a can of sardines. And that was just like, it was amazing.
Love it. Love it. Gina, what are you saying for food pairings with local rosé?
Oh, rosés are so great. I say they pair well with patios and sunshine as well. Just, as that refreshing, midsummer afternoon when you have some time to kick back. But I do have to agree with Erin 100%. I mean, when we say Nova Scotia wine, we say Nova Scotia any wine, but generally any wine. But when we say Nova Scotia rosé, seafood comes to mind as well. I'll put a little bit of a different twist on it and say love sushi, love crab cakes. Those kind of maybe even a little sweeter dishes, and lots of flavor. And our rosés can really help cleanse the palate and really own up to all those wonderful flavors in those food options.
Awesome. And how about our fun-loving kids, Amber and John? What are you guys saying?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, we love to eat and drink at the same time because that's what you're supposed to do. Now, my typical answer is whatever you want, because I can pair this with laundry, not killing my children, just drinking it all on its own. Seafood is amazing with it. Barbecue is amazing with it. Cheese, charcuterie. It goes with anything. Like, I think that's wine, all wine. I'd love to say, oh, that's just my wine. It's wine. It's whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
Whatever your palate is, because there's so many different wines. There's so many different varieties because everyone's got a different palate. But Erin is absolutely right. So is Gina. I mean, seafood, and we've got it in droves down here. It is the thing. It is the thing to pair it with. But my token answer is with whatever you want.
I love it. You're taking a page out of my book.
Yeah.
It's really, if it makes you happy, it doesn't matter. I think it does matter where it comes from because I love local wines, but in general terms of speaking
Yes.
about wine, it's not about the price. It's not where it comes from. It's about you love it and you're creative, opening a can of sardines by a fire, enjoying life. I think that's the beauty to wine. A lot of the extra layers, some of us are guilty for doing that, but I love that philosophy. So let's get a little bit into some of your guys' local rosés for everyone that's viewing. And, for those of us that are very interested, I'll just sort of lead off with, I can say that Gina, recently I enjoyed the Mercator Compass Rosé, just like you described, mid-afternoon. Not necessarily paired with food too heavily, but, some sea air, sunshine, and relaxing, and it was beautiful. And then I can honestly say, being on vacation this week, Amber, a little bit of barbecue, someone that can't actually eat seafood. So for those that are watching, I love your call on anything, but truly the barbecue fare. Getting into wine about 10 years ago professionally, I fell in love with pork again. And your It's So Rosé was a perfect pairing for just a little bit of a spicy pork tenderloin off the grill and a nice Mediterranean potato salad. Kudos, loved it. Highly versatile wine, and I do recommend picking it up and having fun with it. And to you, Erin, I actually have a little bit of your recommendation. So I'm going to start with you to speak about your guys' new releases. Hopefully my camera shows it. I've been diligently trying not to gobble up and drink up this delicious newest wine, listed with the NSLC and here locally in Nova Scotia, and it would be the Glooscap First Nation collaboration with Benjamin Bridge. I won't give away all the flavors of it. It's your craft. So if you could describe a little bit of your art and your craft going on in the bottle, and I'll get the rest of the gang to join in with their recent releases.
Yeah, sure. Well, the Glooscap First Nations Rosé is a very special one, and it goes beyond the wine in terms of that. We started looking at, the Gaspereau Valley and the word terroir and what that really means. And it really can't encompass the 20 years that we've been, experimenting with wine here in the Gaspereau Valley. You have to incorporate even more than that. So we made a friendship with the indigenous people have been cultivating our land in a sustainable way for the past 13,000 years. So we started first with a way of decolonizing our situation and, trying to give back to the land. So we started a really close friendship with the Glooscap community, particularly Sabrina and Lorraine Whitman. And then we started this collaboration with them. So they were with us on every single step of the way to create this wine, from picking the parcels of grapes, from blending the wine, from everything that had to, from all the way to deciding on the label, everything. So that's what really makes this wine super special. And then also it being extremely delicious. So it's super aromatic, it's very different than if anyone's ever had our Cab Franc Rosé, which tends to be more of a drier, acidic, kind of bright rosé, which is really great for our climate here, a cooler climate here in Nova Scotia. But this one kind of is way more aromatic. It's got this kind of softness and roundness, which is kind of in a sad way. We think of it as a kind of a direct representation of climate change that we see going on here. Like back in 10 years ago, you wouldn't be able to make a wine like a rosé that has this kind of like roundness and softness that doesn't have that crazy spike of acidity that it would need. This wine tastes delicious, but we always find there's kind of like a little bit of a sadness that's shown within it because of this climate change issue that we're having here. But it is, on the other side, it is a very great wine. It's got super bright notes of, tropical flavors. It's got this undertone of like a lavender, and it's really great. It's a blend of Riesling, Ortega, and we use Gamay as well with that one.
Excellent. Yeah, I think where we were talking about international styles and influence, you correct me if I'm wrong. I got a uniqueness with this wine. It seems Provence influence in a way, but I sense and taste a little bit of slight, like the flavors of a Cremant de Bourgogne or a Rosé.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit of the Gamay in there, but I agree with you. A beautiful wine, and thank you for the recommendation and enjoying it for the first time.
Thanks for having.
Amber and John, last week barbecue, your wine vaporized. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I got a sense of a Rosé d'Anjou style with just a little bit of that brightness, touch of sweetness in there, the really nice berry flavors. That's why I wanted to go pork with it. And well, you give me a glass of rosé and fire up a barbecue, I'm sold. So, but really enjoyed your wine. Could you elaborate on your It's So Rosé? And I love the color, and I have to know how you got the color in that rosé.
So again, we all know my wine background here. 2 teenage boys. A farmer for a husband, 2 farm dogs. I live on a farm, so everything is dusty. I have very little pink in my life, very little pink. So John was dead set against having a rosé. I, on the other hand, won that battle, and I made it as pink as I could possibly get it. And we use our Petite Pearl, which grows really well on our property, as do the rest of the grapes that we use in it. We use Geisenheim 318, Lackady, Seval, and then the Petite Pearl to give it that color. The label, I went so frou-frou over the top. And I mean, people have commented and said, you know, don't you think you should change your label? I'm like, but why would I? I want it to be all that and frou-frou. You know, it's everything I want. It's technicolor, it's musical notes, it's butterflies, it's everything I can think of that I want in my life at all times, because I can't have anything pink or white or they will soil it. As far as the making of the wine, it's my wine. It's my palate. I'm very, very pleased and touched that other people like it. I know that not all of our wines are, they can't be my palate because not everybody, you know, people want something that's really dry. I prefer something that's off dry, medium. But I like something that's fruit forward. I like something that's easy to drink, that smells aromatic. I think that all the grapes that we put in to this wine are the best quality that we can possibly, like, I'm not putting anything off. I know that everyone knows when you say that, you know, you don't have to. Again, this was supposed to be John's retirement. So, you know, we're putting our best foot forward. And if it's no good, I'm not putting it forward. It's as simple as that. If I don't look good, I'm not coming to your party. That's as simple as that. So again, it's oh so rosé, because I always wanted to say, and I'm a terrible. So when I shut things down from the kids, the office, my staff, my husband, all that, I watch a lot of trash TV. I'm not going to lie. It's not attractive, but I do. And I've always wanted to say rosé all day. And I now have a wine, and Nova Scotia has an offering that I can say rosé all day. And it's all pink.
Love it.
It's just perfect.
I love it. Thank you
Perfect.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gina, how about the Mercator Compass? I fell in love with this wine, I think 3-4 years ago, first vintage. Very Provence in style. It's almost like you're placating to my wallet and the wallet of many, many others out there. Huge success, so I congratulate you. You know, a little bit of a hiatus, I think, but there's, you know, we have Mercator Compass again, so please tell us about it.
Yeah, the hiatus was as we all are experiencing nowadays, is bottle issues. So we were waiting on bottles. The wine was ready, you know, people could drink it possibly from the tank, but yeah, that was the hiatus. But it's back, and you're right, exactly, Dave, that we did this in a Provence style for sure. Really took care to keep the bright acidity, but to also have a soft mid palate. And some of the reasons for that were that we did some barrel ferments on a little bit of this year, a little bit of Lackady and a little bit of Petit Milo, and spontaneous barrel ferments, and then did some lee stirring and added that in at less than 10% of this blend. So you're getting that kind of that softness, that silkiness in the mid palate from that. Now, I said that it was an oak, but there's no oak on the nose. This is definitely aromatic driven. You know, there's floral notes, there's everything like that. But that little bit of barrel ferment was added in there just to give us that weight and that palate. So this blend is mostly about 40% Lackady and only 13% rosé. And the grapes we use for the rosé are both most Marquette and a little bit of Frontenac. So that gives us the kind of pale color. For those that don't know, most of the grape varieties that are red hybrid here, if you make that into a rosé, you're going to get color, a lot of color. Even if you press it super lightly and you know, you do everything you can to keep it light, it's going to have a lot of color. So we do, as everyone else said, we blend back some white to keep that fresh and exciting. So there's a little bit of Riesling in there, a little bit of Saval. I said Petit Merlot, a little bit of Chardonnay, and probably the aromatic, the fruitiness, or not the fruitiness, the floral notes that come out in this, I would say are given to us from our friend the Muscat, the New York Muscat. So yeah, that's it, and finished with in an off dry style as well. Just enough sweetness to make it a lovely food friendly wine.
Excellent. I was so happy to see it back again this summer.
So was I.
Question. We have a question from the viewers. It's quite meaty, lots to it. Let's get to it. I know that we're wanting to get to a lot of big juicy questions here, no pun intended. So the question we have is, are there any varietals that we're seeing a particular affinity to making rosé wines in Nova Scotia? Will we see more single varietal rosé, or a future mostly of blending wines of small amounts of red? And so this is something that I also wanted to ask all of you, which I think each of you will be able to answer phenomenally. It could be some camps formed here, or philosophies, but there is talk of what's the next big grape in Nova Scotia. Tidal Bay has had such wonderful success for everybody. A lot of consumers that we here at the NSLC and the wonderful teams I work with and clients I have, what's next? It's human nature. So we've done an amazing job. What do you all think could be, some key varietals moving forward to be the staple of our rosé wines? Amber, John, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I like the Nova Scotian grapes that we have. I like the hybrid. I'm not going to say that I'll never do a vinifera in there as well. I think it's all about, this is going to sound corny, but it's Nova Scotia pride, in the sense that we all want to make the best wine that we can. Rosé is an amazing offering, and it takes a lot of different skill set, with the blushing or the blending or whatever you want to do. We blend. I will always use the staple. We will always use the staple of the Petit Pearl, because it's my grape. It's my baby. I don't know what, I love it. So we'll always put it in something, but it's always about the quality. So with the weather changing, and Erin touched on it, climate change and everything, we have to be adaptable. We have to be able to pivot. The ultimate goal for our winery is always to stay local and to be able to use the grapes that we have readily available, and always the best quality. So yeah, it's all about our palate, and we hope that people like what we're offering. And if we like it, then we feel that other people will like it. If you put love in a recipe, Tidal Bay, when I explain it on tours or something, I always say it's like a cookie recipe. It's amazing cookie recipe. Everyone's got something different. Like Erin might want coconut, Gina might want nuts, and I put tons of, white chocolate chip in there as well as dark chocolate chip. You might not like all of our components. It's all similar, but it's all got a different kind of spring to it. And I think here in Nova Scotia, with the wineries, with the winemakers, with the grapes that we have, it's all about adaptability as well. So I know that I answered a lot of questions and put a lot in there, but I firmly believe that we are a rosé environment, like rosé all day for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I love that answer. Thank you. And where you're touching on, basically the models of our Tidal Bay, and everybody puts their own twist. And it's so true. You sense it, you feel it, and you taste it, the love.
Yeah.
The love component that comes through, and that comes from the heart and the individuality and the creativity of all of you in your industry. So yeah, you nailed it there. Erin, what do you got to say?
Yeah, I mean, for rosés, I don't know. It's hard to speculate on if there's going to be one single particular varietal that will drive the rosé front, because it's so subjective to, you know, every winery or like what we have planted. For example, we don't have that much red hybrids planted, but that's not to say that that might not drive the, you know, the future of rosé. There's, if you look at the natural wine movement, there's like the best wines coming out of Quebec are these like amazing hybrids that are just crazy and, you know, so great. So like, but also on the other hand, you know, we all know that it's hard to grow a red grape in Nova Scotia, and rosé gives a great way to, if you know the red grape doesn't get to the full ripeness, it's kind of a great gateway to making a rosé. And as climate change progresses, you know, reds are going to be easier and easier to grow, including vinifera's. So it's hard to say if there's going to be any particular grape that's going to go that way. And then you also think of how Burgundy and Champagne are doing every year. They have issues with bud break, you know, and early frost. If you think that that's kind of like looking into the future of us, it's not to say that hybrids and vinifera's are, you know, hybrids would survive past vinifera's. Once bud break happens, they're kind of both susceptible to these issues. So it's really hard to say the future of rosés, but I think it's kind of exciting. And I think there's a chance for both of hybrids or vinifera's to have its say into the, you know, it's horse in the run, or
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a tribute to us doing things very well here. You know, we're one of the few regions that can say we do hybrids extremely well, and we're growing our single varietal wines as well along with them. Gina.
Yeah, so I think I have to, just to answer the question, I don't know if there is going to be any single one grape variety that everyone will be leaning on. You know, to Amber's point, I think it's about making a quality wine. So if that means being a varietal, if that means being a blend, as long as it's a, you know, great balanced wine that reflects the terroir, reflects Nova Scotia, that should be the aim. I think for Mercator, for Gasparo, and for Yost, our portfolio of rosé will be based on a blend. You know, using the bright acidity, and actually, I told you that we had the rosé component was Marquette and a little bit of Frontenac in this one. That's very unusual for us, because often any of our rosé bases that are based on the red is based on Leon Malo. Because it doesn't have a lot of color and it's got that propensity for that beautiful fruit-forward aromatics. So in our profiles, or in our portfolio, let's try that again. I think we'll continue using blends, but I also think, you know, that there are great examples of varietals of rosés out there. Yeah, so there's my answer.
Excellent. This is all sort of hinting questions I receive from the NSLC teams that I get to work with, are specialists and all the towns up in, you know, the valley and here in the city, about the next appellated wine in Nova Scotia. And I'll admit, I've been guilty for a few years. I've been rooting for Gamay and Cab Franc to be utilized a little bit more, experienced a little bit more, see how it really does fit here. And to Erin's notes, you know, there is global warming, and, you know, part of our terroir is changing due to the heat units coming. So I do see there is some changes, but I think we can maybe have a sense here that we work with what we got that works well for us, and potentially maybe one day, do you think that we could see, you know, a rosé Tidal Bay that's based off of the blend mix that we like to encompass? I know professionally I appreciate it, because it allows the creativity and the artistry of everybody's love for wine to come through, as opposed to you can only grow this grape or this grape, and you can only make wine if it's at this alcoholic strength to this many bricks. You know, I think that's a big leap for us, but these are still things I think our province and our wine region could reach for. But I think it's a consensus that, you know, some blending and keep utilizing those white and red hybrid grapes and creating a nice blush blended rosé is a great way to get us where we're going. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
So,
all about the artistry. It's all about the mixology. I know that's kind of funny in its own right, but it is about doing the I mean, I thought that way back when I would enjoy tasting the wines and when you're flavor pairing and all that stuff, and you got to spit it out. I didn't know that you had to spit it out, and I don't enjoy that, people, but I have to spit it out. I have samples everywhere and I got a pot. It's not even like a spittoon. There's nothing sexy about it. I'm spitting out perfectly good wine because we have to get that balance. But, Erin, yeah, you mentioned climate change and, like I got kids and all that stuff and it's depressing and that's why I drink wine. So it all like comes around and my grapes are growing exponentially. I'm able to grow more red grapes, climate change, and I drink more wine to make it a big heart. Again, I could have put a heart on my label too. Sorry.
Sorry, Dave. It's an
No.
interesting point too, though. We're talking about climate change and things are warming up, but there is a lot of unpredictable weather patterns that comes along with that. So, you touched on it, Erin, talking about Burgundy, and they're seeing hail, they're seeing late spring frosts, they're seeing early fall frosts. That is something we have to contend with as well. So, I guess it's not all wonderful. It's not like we're it's changing all for the better. It just means that we have to be a little more nimble and work with every season and try to get it right. So I think a blend rosé in the same kind of idea as Tidal Bay would be amazing. I don't know what the appetite is like, but it would be a fun thing to do. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I've heard it from so many people I interact with. They want something more from Nova Scotia because they're so proud of what you guys all do and the fellow grape growers and winemakers. They're just excited. There's nothing more fun than recommending local wines. We act as ambassadors, or a twist on something as opposed to, our team selling something from France or Spain or Portugal. People love the introduction of their backyard. So it's definitely exciting. Now, Gina, you kind of touched on this and we were chatting before we started this evening. So I thought it would be great now that we're sort of understanding all your visions of rosé and Nova Scotian rosé. Erin, you touched it wonderfully on global warming, and Gina, you made the lights go off my head is our shoulder seasons, right? Like coming out of that winter into our spring and, wonderful summer we're having now, but winemakers, I think, and growers, you're all like, yeah, this is great, but so how would you all each take your turn surmise this vintage and sort of some of the troubles you've had to bringing us these beautiful wines year after year that we locally in Nova Scotia buy up very well. The rest of the world should be jealous because we get to have a lot of it before there's any for anybody else. So who would like to take the lead on the current vintage?
I can, if I may. I hate to count my chickens before they're hatched. It's tricky, but just looking at the season, I'd say we probably we started off a little tad cooler. But had nice rains. Everything was lush. If you looked around, even the province, not even vineyards, but you saw things were lush. Coming into the last month and a half, we've been quite dry and very warm. So things are looking good. With the recent little bit of a rain push, we had there's and humidity. We've had a little more disease pressure, but definitely controllable. So. I'm knocking on wood. You probably can't see me doing that, but I think we have the makings of a great harvest. The thing we worry about, or that's always, as a farmer, you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, what's to come? We often have rain during the fall, and so we want to get enough rain now to make sure those grapes that are developing, the skins kind of stretch out and are stretched out a little more, so that when we do get the rain, they're not going to be small and then start breaking open and cracking, and then you have more disease issues later on. So a little more rain, like the heat, and I think we're happy with the way things are looking now.
Good. How about in your neck of the woods, Erin?
Yeah, well, we're right down the street from Gaspereau, so it's pretty similar in the sense. We had a bit of a cold streak through January, February that caused a little bit of damage. Made us a little worried, but the heat has been really awesome lately. And it looks like maybe an earlier vintage than we've had in the past, if it keeps going like this, for sure, which means my summer will be cut short. But yeah, again, like if we have a little more rain, it could be making some a really great vintage, ignoring the little cold friend.
Excellent. And Amber, you too, you guys experiencing the same?
Well, it's a little different over here, but again, we all know I'm the drinker, John's the farmer, so.
It's a quick recovery from the frost last winter. Everything looks good. We're hedging, we're leaf removing already.
Good.
And I've been fertilizing the pants off it, and I've been treating our vines like milk cows for the vines that have a reduced crop this year. The other ones are I fed them a little extra ration in a balanced fertilizer and the liming, and we're getting ready to cover crop. So I keep a little more nutrition in the ground. So we're going to start to try to prevent that a little, and then we're not going to overcrop the vinifera, or not. I shouldn't use the word overcrop. We're going to cut the crop off them a little bit, so they put a little more energy in their root tanks for the winter for us.
Good.
So we're going to try to lessen that quite a bit. And that's the program here. But we fed the grapes very well, a whole bunch of feeds, balanced fertilizer, and we soil test them every single chance now we get. And we're on very light stone-free soil here. So we're bleeding fertility. We're going to change some tillage and some grass mowing and some cover crops. Because all those beautiful micronutrients that we put on there every year, they tend to bleed out, and it makes the plants work a little harder. So we're going to help them, and we're going to watch that every single week. And if there's something a little bit amiss, the fertilizer companies, they do a real good job with us on our fertility, and we're going to feed them like they were kids and grow them up good and get a balanced harvest. And we're going to put these vines to bed, and we're going to we have to cut a little crop again off the Seville again, which just has a lovely history of working itself almost to death and not giving us a good crop next year. And we already pulled crop off, and it's looking good for next year.
Good.
But the whole thing is monitoring it, making sure that we're ahead of the game, because we all know the rain is going to come. It is going to probably be fierce, and it's farming. It's again, I know there's the sexy note of the winery and all that stuff, but it is trying to get the best crop so that you can make the best quality wine.
Yeah.
And it's all a timing game. It's like bales of hay or a windmill or whatever you use to keep your vines warm, because it's not just June that we can have frost. We can have frost in September, but we never know when a cold front's coming up. Honestly, heat wave, and then it's like a monsoon or it's something else. So yeah. It's just being in tune with all of that and being able to nimbly pivot and get the job done. And that's what we do. And the people that are involved at every single one of the Nova Scotia wineries, we do, because it's passion. It's hard work. It's not for the faint of heart. It's passion. It's all built on passion.
Yeah.
It's not as glamorous as people might think.
No.
Our end product is, Erin.
That's all that matters.
That looks all awesome especially when it's in a glass, and it's so. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I commend all of you on your efforts and what you do. And you know, there's winemakers all over the world, and I'd like to think that here locally, you all have a little bit more weight on your shoulders because we are discerning palates here in Nova Scotia. We do love our wine. So I think, you know, forums like this are really good. I really hope the viewers really, you know, get the sense of, you know, the trials and tribulations and the passion that's needed to get through it when, you know, the frosts do come that are unexpected, or, you know, everybody out there, when I go outside downtown Halifax, is loving the summer heat. And, you know, being a wine geek, you know, grape lover, wine lover, I'm like, choose some rain, you know, a little bit of rain would be nice. You know, we're not growing, you know, natural leather here. We're growing grapes, right? So I really think it's great for people to see, you know, a little bit of what's on the line for all of you. It's a lot. And I think many overshadow it with the enjoyment of what's in the glass on the patio in the evening with seafood, maybe a lobster roll, I don't know. I have to ask a geek question, really simple and easy. I could be a little premature on it. It's been a while since I've had days working in a winery, but is anybody seeing any veraison coming on in the vineyards? Are we seeing any changes going on yet?
No,
No? When do you expect, John?
I don't. I look, that you're the very first person that mentioned that. And we the group, we have a talk every morning. It was not mentioned. But I'll tell you, the first weather forecast from CTV News today gave a single-digit temperature for upper New Brunswick tonight. So there's what we just talked about.
Anybody want to know how much weather I watch? It's between CNN and who cares and weather. And they don't talk about Nova Scotia weather. He's just fixated on the weather. He's a farmer.
Thank you, dear.
Farmer.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
True. Yeah, I don't know how often I look at the weather reports too, leading up to harvest. You know, you don't want those beautiful grapes that are hanging to go downhill because there's a storm front coming in or something like that. So yeah, it is that way. But at this point, we should I think we're all doing it, but let's raise a toast to all those hard people working in the vineyards. Right, we as winemakers get to sit up here and talk about wine, and I always like to remind, you know, we're one person of a huge team, whether it be winemaking, whether it be sales, whether it be the vineyard, and we all know, you know, the vineyard does most of the work, and that includes the vineyard managers and all the people working it. So cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes. Yes, agreed. We are, the vineyard does do a lot of the work, and I think we should all be, and we are proud ambassadors of our own backyard and the natural beauty that we have. I think we all are very, very fortunate. Lots of exciting things to come from the future. So I can't wait. Just revisit a little bit of a topic there, blending about our white and red grapes for rosé. We had Rachel ask a question. Do you feel, because I think this is a great question, we do white wine so well and so varied, and the minerality and the acidity and the structure, it's just lively wine to begin with. Do you guys see potentially the blending of rosé wines being more driven with whites or more with reds? I think basically the key of the question is placating to more of the abundance of white that we have and lightly blending in some of the red wines.
I think
it's, oh, sorry, Erin, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way that most people do it, and certainly Benjamin Bridge as well. With the smaller lots, we've done more red driven, but because of the amount, you know, we don't have as much red wines, and the whites we do so well. It's kind of like shining the white wines in our position, at least. And then some of the smaller lots that we're able to actually do as like a, you know, a small short red maceration to make that rosé, we have done, but it doesn't end up giving enough, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's a benefit to what we can do here. I think the small lot does placate very, very well to the offerings we have every vintage. I think you were about to say something.
Oh, me? Basically, we use what we have available, which is basically off our land, off our vineyard. again, we're not as big as Ventura Bridge. Nor are we as big as all Gina's, Mercator, Gaspro, and Yost. However, the offering, because your small lots folks would probably be my big, expansive one. Because we age the Petit Pearl, and because we're able to use as many as we possibly can, like as much of it, we'll always have an offering, because the white loves the valley, all the white grapes. So we're able to blend, and blending has been working for us. It's not to say that we won't pivot at one time or another, because we change things. It's like changing recipes. So I think it's a vibrant option. I don't know why Rosé All Day has not taken off. It should. I'm going to get a neon sign on the side of one of my buildings. You wait for my post. It's going to be bright pink, and I'm going to have my picture taken with it.
I love it.
I am done. So yes, it will. That should be. It should be the next great thing. It should already be a great thing, because
Agreed.
the rosés that we produce are amazing. They're still the aromatic. The fact that we can grow the white grape as well. That that you can either blend it or use the skins. We can do a whole lot of things here, and we're very good at it. So we have a great offering.
Love it. So guys, I guess our hour is getting close to wrapping up. I'm gonna, leave it. I just want to have a few comments and one last toast to everybody viewing and to all of our friends and fellow industry players. I would just one thing like to address, thank you guys for the time. We all wear many hats. It's not an easy or glamorous life as a grape farmer or as a winemaker. But I really would like to encourage everybody that's watching we touched upon it, like the shoulder seasons, the spring and the winter. There's so much enjoyment to be had up your guys' way. Trust me, downtown Halifax gets boring fast with all the pavement and construction. But you guys have 4 seasons up there. You have 4 seasons of local food. You guys have all the wine up there. So if anything, I would encourage anybody that's a wine lover, Nova Scotia wine fan, go up and visit in the fall and in the winter and see some of that magic. It's quite impressive seeing the work that's going on, in January and February, getting ready for the next vintage, and, sip on a little glass of wine and learn about it is the best thing. And that way we all can enjoy the fruits of your labor, no pun intended. So I'd like to have you all just sort of sign off and say goodbye, and thank everybody for tuning in. So Erin, throw it to you.
Thanks so much, everyone. And as Dave said, come by for a visit. Come in the fall and see harvest, because that's the most exciting time of year to be anywhere in the valley with all the action going on. And thanks so much for listening.
Excellent. Amber, John?
Same. You know what? The valley is beautiful. It doesn't matter where you end up. It's like being home. So we look forward to seeing everyone, and we feel very honored for anyone that comes. You are right. October, sipping a show. That's what I like to call it, because I can't hide any of my production. It's literally right there, or the cannons going off. Come on down. If you're shell shocked, don't do it. Heart condition, don't do it. But any other people, please come down and enjoy. Cheers to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I have to agree with everyone. The best way to experience Nova Scotia wine, Nova Scotia Rosé, any Nova Scotia wine, is to come and see where it's grown, get a sense of place. And it's not that far. If you're in the city, it's less than an hour away, and you can be in the heart of the growing area, both grapes and other things. So come and experience it. The fall is a lovely time. Summer is gorgeous as well. And most people have some extra time maybe in the summer. Come down, enjoy a deck, looking out over a vineyard, and a toast to Nova Scotia wine.
Yeah,
Exactly. We all have food. We all have wine, so keep it local. Cheers to all of you. I love you all for your passions. I love you all for your craft, and especially for what you all bring uniquely to our industry. So cheers to you.
Cheers. And good night.
Cheers, everyone.
Everyone.
Good health.